On Tech News Today, Google plans to launch Android TV, not to be confused with Android-based Google TV. A new Google Glass app lets you stream live video to the internet. And Amazon announces a Wi-Fi and voice-enabled barcode scanner for automating your grocery shopping list. All that and more coming up next.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Monday, April 7th, 2014. This episode is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website or online portfolio. For a free 2-week trial and 10% off, go to squarespace.com and use the offer code TNT. And by RingCentral, the cloud-based phone system we use here at Twit. And it just got better, the launch of Meetings, the full-service video conferencing feature. Zero startup costs, and RingCentral starts at under $25 a month per user. Try it now with a 30-day risk-free trial. And buy one desk phone, get a second phone free, up to 20 phones. Call 800-543-9980 or visit ringcentral.com and use our promo code TWIT. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Mike Elgin.
And I'm Jason Howell.
Tech News Today explores the big stories of the day in conversation with some of the world's best journalists. Our guest co-anchor this week, all week, is Natalie Morris, contributor to the Today Show, CNBC, The Queen Latifah Show, and a former anchor for CNET TV. She's also the co-founder of ReadQuick, a speed reading app for iOS. So if she talks really, really fast, it's because she's probably reading very fast. Welcome, Natalie.
Read quick, not talk quick. I don't really talk all that quick, actually.
Read quick.
But yes, I'd be here all the week.
Well, we're glad to have you back. You did a week a couple months or a month and a half ago, something like that, and that was a fantastic week. You're very popular with the TNT audience, so we welcome you back.
Thank you. I'm big on MySpace, but not really.
Well,
I don't think I've been on MySpace in years.
You're big here, too. Well, thanks again for joining us. So let's jump into the news. Google may launch a platform called Android TV. Now, wait a minute. Verge writer Sean Hollister got his hands on documents and screenshots that reveal Google's plans, and he wrote an exclusive about it over the weekend. Sean, welcome to Tech News Today.
Thank you for having me.
So Google TV has existed for years, and that was based on Android. So how is Android TV different from Google TV?
As far as we can tell, it's still going to be Android under the hood. That's going to be a focus now. There's going to be Android apps and Android games and so on the service. But they're trying to simplify the entire idea. Google TV in 2010 was going to be, a computing platform. You'd be able to access the web. You'd be able to access anything you'd want to from the web in addition to your set-top box kind of stuff. And it was kind of complicated and convoluted, and it ended up irking a lot of the video providers like Hulu, which said, we don't want you to get our shows on that service, which was a bit of a problem at the time, and so it was an abject failure. And now they're saying, we're just going to put content in front of you. It's all about content, magical, seamless access to your content. We will suggest things for you right away to watch. As soon as you turn the thing on, you'll see things that we think you should watch that you'll like, based on your search history and things like that Google collects. It's data collection algorithms.
But this is more than just a dongle, right? This will be actual hardware to compete with the Amazon Fire.
We think so. It definitely looks like a set-top box interface. We would expect it to be on a set-top box. But honestly, Android fits in a pretty small space now. It could be a dongle. It could be an HDMI dongle. It could be something where it's like a Chromecast-style device where it's just that small and fits in the back of your television. It could be something built into TVs. We don't know much about the hardware yet.
Do you think the dongle was maybe a handicap for the Chromecast? Because the Chromecast could do a lot of this stuff as well, but I don't think people understood it. The average consumer was like, what is this?
Yeah, it's really, really hard to explain what the Chromecast is or does or why you want this funky-looking thing hanging out the back of your TV. It's definitely something where people are used to, there's a little hockey puck under my television. They know what a Roku is. They know what that kind of thing is. But the thing is that the Chromecast was actually really simple once you got used to it. I really liked the model there, and it's strange that Google would have two different TV platforms now, the Chromecast and then also this Android TV.
And it's a little weird that they would have two. especially if this turns out to be a dongle. If they have two dongles, I think people are going to be super confused. My guess is it won't be a dongle. It'll be a box. And I'm kind of getting concerned about the Me Too approach of so many companies, including Amazon Fire TV that Natalie mentioned. That had a feature that's similar to one that you described, where they emphasize a sort of algorithmically determined set of recommendations. In the case of Amazon, they are actually starting to load those in advance. So when you see the recommendations, they're so confident in them that you'll click on it and it'll play immediately. It'll start playing immediately. So do you think that this is going to be just another Amazon TV type device? Just like, Burke just brought this in, and we're going to show this because this came in. I think Leo ordered this. This is the Amazon with the remote.
Oh, nice.
Do you think this is going to be just like the Amazon Fire TV? Is there anything in the documents that you saw that would lead you to believe it's anything other than yet another device that's pretty much like the Amazon Fire TV?
I think it is yet another device. It's pretty much like the Amazon Fire TV, but the difference is that it's Google's device. And Amazon, Amazon is a tremendous company, and they've got a tremendous model where, they buy really cheap hardware from them, like the Kindle, like this Fire TV, and you get all your Amazon content on there. But how much content does Amazon have compared to Google, which has this, this giant app store? They have maybe not deals for live television that you can watch on their devices yet, but lots of pre-recorded movies and shows and things like that you can watch on Google. And if they can leverage the connections between all the Google devices that are already out there, all the Android smartphones and the Chrome OS devices to come, they could have something with that. One of the features that we saw touted in the leak that we got was the ability to resume playback of things that you're already watching or that you already started watching on another device. A lot of people have Google smartphones now. Nobody has nobody has an Amazon smartphone right now that they're going to resume playback from.
But this is all still just app-based watching of content, and what we've been waiting for is the content deals with the channels, with the TV channels that make it less like a pick and choose kind of experience. So, I mean, how many other players can get into this market now? Everyone can, right? Before we were just yawn.
Yeah,
I think.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think the power of Google TV was always the promise that it was easy to sync between all of these services and find the content rather than going to a service and seeing what kind of content they have individually. Maybe Android TV, with more of an emphasis on that search capability, makes that a better thing, right? If the thing is that you want to watch this movie, but you don't know where it is, using Android TV, if they do it properly, that could be a very powerful thing, even if they don't have the syncing of live TV and the content that's on live TV into the service. They don't have the deals to do that. Still could be pretty interesting. But I also feel like a big part of this is just the fact that Google TV, by and large, without a doubt, failed. And as a marketing as kind of a marketing push in a different direction, marketing it as Android TV, whereas Android, if they continue down the route where some of these things are Google and some of them are Android and some of them are Chromecast, it gets very confusing for the average consumer. Making it Android TV, Android at this point does have a good kind of marketing muscle behind it, and people recognize that now. So maybe that is an important way for them to recast what they're doing in the living room.
And all these things that we think that we want too, these sort of apps and live TVs and breaking news and all that stuff. TiVo does that, but you still have to pay your cable provider for it. And TiVo can search live as well as whatever kind of online app-based TV you have as well.
We've been waiting for people to crack live TV for a long time. Get your live television through the internet, through your set-top box. Nobody's done that yet. Nobody's managed to make the deals work. But Jason's right, too, in that nobody's really cracked this complete universal search. You just look for something, you just search for something you want to watch, and it pulls it up wherever it is. Google's promised it in the past. Microsoft has promised it in the past. Lots of places have promised it in the past. But that also requires these deals on some level where you don't alienate Hulu such that they say, we don't want you, searching our content. And it seems pretty clear that Amazon has gotten that far, at least with companies like Hulu. Google can do that too. If Google can do that better, that's still a thing people want. And if it's in a really inexpensive set-top box, something that's just an impulse buy, people say, I'll just get this really cheap Google device and put it under my television this Christmas. That's something where they can still get a foot in the door, even if they don't have the whole solution yet.
Yeah. Do you guys use that site? Can I stream it? Can
Yes.
I stream.tv? And that's the only place to go, because otherwise I'm typing things in on a tiny little remote on one thing on an Apple TV, and then I go over to the Roku and it's not there. That's so frustrating.
Yeah. And
First world problem.
Yes,
Big
it's
one.
the first worldest of problems. Now, you mentioned in your article that this is going to have a cards-based interface, and of course, the Amazon Fire TV has this button here. You push this button and talk to it, and it launches a search. Does this Android TV offering have a speech component? And if so, is this going to work more or less like Google Now?
I see somebody zooming in on it right now. Yes, indeed. It has a speech component. There's going to be a dedicated search button on the remote. And what the Google documents are touting is that there'll be in-app search as well. You'll be able to push that button on the remote in any of the applications that support it and get some kind of search there as well. I don't know how good the search is going to be, but I'd be very surprised if Google doesn't put all of their muscle behind it, and the Google Now interface behind it as well, to try and pull in more of that here's something you want before you know you want it kind of vibe. It's something where I do think that when it comes to the TV interface, voice is key. The company with the best voice search solution is going to be miles ahead of the competition if they pull something out, because voice is one of those things where if it doesn't work even just a little bit, it feels like it isn't working at all, because you don't want to repeat yourself over and over again saying things and trying to get the machine to comprehend what you're saying. I don't know if any of the providers have it down yet where you can just say anything you want and get it to pop up in front of you. Even Xbox right now, Xbox will let you say all kinds of things, but you can't use the straight up universal search on an Xbox with your voice. You still have to type letters in. You can say Xbox go to Titanfall, but you can't say Xbox, find me this particular show on Hulu and expect it to work every time.
And when you think about contextual recommendations, like they know who you are and they know what you've been doing this day. And if you've maybe they can even access your calendar. It's been a tough day. Maybe they need something relaxing. Google Now can do that really well because it's such a personal service. But a TV service is going to have to be family-based. So how many user profiles can then you merge into this TV experience?
Yeah,
I don't think you know the answer. I'm just musing.
I do not know the answer, but I do know that one of the interesting things we're seeing come out is camera technology to detect who's in the room and, where they are in the room and who is making who is talking to the machine at any given time. The Xbox One Connect is very good at that. And I wonder if that's something that a Google box might need to plug into to understand that better.
Right. Do you know your
some
child
kind of
is out of
camera.
bed because I'm going to turn off this rated R movie now?
But the benefit of being Google is that they will have that data from your phone as well and from your web browser that they can use to help personalize that stuff. It won't be
Well, in my case, they also have that data from my house because I've got a Nest.
Oh, yeah.
So they could actually see my kid get out of bed and turn off the movie that maybe I shouldn't be watching if it's not appropriate for kids.
And
Very
one,
true.
one of the things that was interesting out of the Microsoft announcement at Build last week was that Cortana, which is the Microsoft's version of Google Now for all intents and purposes, is going to have a feature where you can tell it, okay, next time I talk to so-and-so on the phone, remind me to tell them whatever. And then, 2 weeks go by and then you call somebody and it pops up and says, hey, remember you wanted to tell them something. You can imagine Google integrating, or any of these companies integrating, especially Google, a feature where you're walking around and you want to see something. You're like, well, I want to see this YouTube video. Remind me next time I'm sitting in front of the TV, and then have it recognize you and you sit down. Oh, you wanted to see this. Here it is. That kind of thing is coming, especially from a company like Google, which has so many different points at which they can harvest signals about what you want, and so many different points at which you can interact with it through through wearable devices like Google Glass and the upcoming smartwatch, through the Chrome browser, through wherever, Gmail, whatever. There's going to be so many places for you to input stuff and then have it be smart about those things, that all wrapped around Google Now. So I think that, Sean, I believe in your article you suggested that this might come out at Google I/O. I think that's probably a really good guess. Google I/O 2 or 3 years ago, they rolled out Google is called Android at Home, which is a home automation idea, and then it kind of fizzled, but they've still been working on it. We can see little clues here and there. There's also the question of gaming, which we haven't really talked about. So do you see any evidence in the documents that you reported on that there's home automation or strong gaming stuff coming to this? For example, the Amazon Fire TV had an actual game control that you could buy separately. Is there anything like that in all of these documents?
Nothing about home automation, but definitely gaming. There will be an optional game controller of some sort that was definitely mentioned here. And there is a dedicated section in the interface specifically for games. I mean, you know, the main interface is, here's some stuff we'd recommend for you to try based on your previous data points, all these data points we've harvested. And then below that, apps, and then below that, an entire section for games. So I definitely think this will be a living room gaming play for them, a little micro game console. And we've seen that previous boxes like the Ouya, the $99 Ouya, haven't been tremendous successes, but there was such demand for a game console at that price point that runs Android at the time that I imagine whoever gets it right will have some interest in that. And if Google's doing it itself and manages to convince the game developers to put the games on there, this could be an interesting play for that as well.
Well, I'll be at Google I/O, and I'll be if they do announce something like this, you all will be the second to know. Sean, I want to thank you for coming on Tech News Today and telling us about your exclusive.
Thanks very much.
All right, you can find Sean, of course, at theverge.com. Make sure you put the "the" in there. And also on Twitter at Starfire2258. Well, in a sec, we're going to talk about other Google news, including a new Google Glass app. But first, I want to tell you about Squarespace. Squarespace will make you look like a website genius because they have 25 beautiful templates for you to start creating your website. You just pick a template and then you can modify it. I've done this on multiple occasions and always been super impressed by how flexible, how beautiful, and how functional these websites are that you can create with Squarespace. Super easy to use, but if you do need help, they have live chat and email support 24/7, and it's really good support as well. They also have a customer help site for learning about how to do things on the web. It's like video workshops, things like that will teach you how to be a better web creator, web master, whatever it is you want to call it. They have tons and tons of helpful videos on that. They have e-commerce for all subscription plan levels. So if you need to raise money for your nonprofit group, if you want a cash wedding registry, school fund drive, or if you want to sell stuff on the internet, Squarespace is the place to do it. Very inexpensive. Starts at just $8 a month, and that includes a free domain name if you sign up for a year. It's also mobile ready. The new Squarespace metric app for iPhone and iPad lets you check site stats like page views, unique visitors, and social media followers. Even their code is beautiful. So this is a really, really well-designed service, up, down, and sideways. This is a fantastic site, and I've been using it for a couple of years, and I love it. To start a free 2-week trial with no credit card required, start building your website. When you decide to sign up for Squarespace, make sure you use the offer code TNT to get 10% off and also to show your support for Tech News Today. And we thank Squarespace for their support of Tech News Today. And remember that a better web awaits, and it starts with your new Squarespace website. Well, the new Google Glass app unveiled at the NAB show lets you stream live video from Google Glass to the internet. The app was created by Livestream, which is a popular live streaming service that specializes in enabling live video from a variety of devices, including smartphones. The new Glassware app also enables the person wearing glass to get messages back from the people who are commenting on the video, and then they can respond back to those people through voice, just by talking, basically. Chris Davies is the executive editor at SlashGear, and he wrote about this app. Welcome, Chris.
Hi, Mike. Hi, guys. Good. Thanks for having me on this morning.
Glad to have you here. So what can you tell us about this Glassware app?
Well, it's really interesting. Basically, it turns Glass into almost a roving reporter system. You can join an existing live stream from your Glass wearable and beam footage directly from your point of view onto the internet where people can watch it in real time and respond.
Now, I'm curious about what that means because it says in the instructions here, you install the app and then you pair with a live stream event. So you can't just say, put it on and stream your whole day like EdTV, right? It has to be pre-approved events that you then participate in?
The events don't have to be pre-approved by Livestream. You just have to have an account that's set up, and then you set up a streaming session online and or from the app, and then join it with your Glass headset. So what's interesting about it is that you can either do that kind of as an individual. You can set up your own Livestream account and begin streaming. Yes. Generally your day, or you can have multiple Glass headsets out there and then connect them using the Livestream Studio app, which will allow a broadcaster to use several people out in the wild with Glass to do sort of in-person reports.
But it's only to the Livestream site, right? You can't send it, say, to YouTube or maybe as some kind of widget inside of your own site, like a Justin TV type thing.
The live stream player is embeddable. So if you are running, yes, so if you're running an event, say if you were going to a tech show like Google I/O, for instance, you could embed that in your site, and then people would be able to watch live, but also then use it as a replay later on, so they'll be able to go back through and see what you recorded, even if they're not joining you while you're recording live.
Well, as a Major League Glasshole myself who plans on going to Google I/O, I'm going to do exactly that with this app, I'm pretty sure. It sounds like a really compelling thing. Now, this isn't exactly live. There's a delay, isn't there?
There's a minor delay, which I think is the case with most of these live streaming technologies. And obviously there is, it's very much dependent on what connection you've got and what battery life you have in Glass. Streaming live video is always going to be very battery intensive, and Glass isn't known for having the best battery life anyway. So I think there are going to be some limitations around it, but I think it's definitely going to be more immediate than recording an interview or recording some sort of live segment and then uploading it later whenever you get bandwidth.
I mean, my own experience is that this is going to probably burn your battery in about an hour and a half, maybe an hour and 45 minutes. The Glass battery does not last a long time when you're doing live video, and then this is going to be transmitting. So that's going to be quite a taxing thing for Glass to do. And so, you know, this isn't something you're going to be able to do all day long. Now, this is the kind of capability that a lot of people and a lot of critics of Google Glass have always assumed that is happening when you're wearing Google Glass. They think you're sitting there streaming everything, hoovering up all this kind of everything you see, and that's just not, that hasn't been the case. I mean, it hasn't been possible to really stream, with the exception of the Google's own Hangouts app has enabled you to join a Hangout, essentially, but that has been limited to just 9 other people could see that. You couldn't do a Hangouts on air, even if you were joining as a participant using Google Glass, to the best of my knowledge. This is the first time that I'm aware of where there's an app out in the wild where you can stream and essentially do what people think that you've been doing all along. Do you think this will harm Google Glass's already bad reputation as a kind of an invader of privacy?
I think it would be difficult to harm the reputation for privacy any more than it kind of is already quite shaky. I think if used correctly, I would like to imagine that this could actually help Google Glass's reputation. I think it's entirely possible that people could begin seeing the benefit of first-person perspective reporting, this idea of being more immediately present at a tech show or a sports event, and kind of sharing that experience, which is pretty much what Google was talking about in the first place when it first showed us Glass, this idea of being more present and using technology to get an insight into situations where maybe you wouldn't normally get to see.
Maybe, but when you think about the use case, like YouTube has not been very successful at being a news destination, right? But they're announcing this as NAB, which is the National Association of Broadcasters. So they're thinking this is good for event type, journalistic type stuff, which then goes on to the kind of things that do well on YouTube. These voyeuristic sites are not necessarily news-based, right? You see the people with millions of subscribers on YouTube. It's like people who have 5 kids and live stream their birth, and people who, you know, are really good at eyeliner. And I just don't know that, will people really take this kind of thing so seriously? Like, oh my gosh, I'm there, I'm with them, this is real journalism. And will the news networks take that seriously?
I think at the end of the day, the Glass integration, it's another tool, and whether that's a useful tool or not, or whether that's recording good content and giving access to good content, it kind of comes down to the person who's using it. And I definitely agree that there is an awful lot of dross out there on YouTube and other streaming sites, but there is also some really good content. So I use Glass. I find it's really, really useful if I'm out at tech events or driving events, because it means you can you keep both of your hands to use the latest phone and demonstrate things while still recording, and people can get that that interpretation of using a new device, driving a new car, or being at the launch of a tablet or something like that from the point of view of the person who's experiencing it for the first time. So if used properly, or if used in a kind of an engaging way, I think it can be a really compelling tool. But you're entirely right that if used in a kind of a sleazy way, it's going to do nothing for Glass's reputation, and it's kind of going to produce more and more awful content.
Well, I have some advice for Livestream. If they want to really publicize this feature, what they need to do is remove the necessity to set up an event in advance. Because what would happen if they didn't have that requirement? For example, the way this works, just so everybody understands this, is that you set up an event in advance, you have the app already installed, and once it's installed, you simply tap the side of Google Glass, which brings up the menu, and you say, Livestream. And off you go, you're live streaming. The problem with requiring a preset event is that they miss the opportunity for people to capture newsworthy events. For example, somebody's in a minor airplane crash, or they witness some sort of thing. If you don't have to set up something in advance, you can just tap and say live stream, and then they'll be live streaming live news. The networks pick it up, and there would be a huge promotional boom for live stream. But with the requirement to set up a thing in advance, they're going to miss out on all those opportunities. Now, Chris, we had you on Friday, and we're having you on here Monday. I really appreciate all of your time, and I want to thank you for coming on and telling us about this glassware.
No, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
All right. You can find Chris at slashgear.com and also on Twitter at C_Davies. Amazon unveiled a small Wi-Fi-enabled barcode scanner called the Dash. When you use it to scan the barcode of a can of soup or a box of cookies, the item is placed on your Amazon Fresh shopping list. Amazon Fresh is that company's grocery delivery service, which is currently available only in a few cities. You can also talk to the device to place your order. It's pretty amazing technology if it works, Natalie, and that is a big question. It's also useless to those of us who don't live in Seattle, San Francisco, or Southern California. Apparently, they're starting with places that begin with the letter S. But this is this seems like a pretty good way to augment a grocery delivery service. Just scan the product and goes on the list. What do you think? Is this something that just sounds good in principle, or would people actually use this?
No, I think people would really like this. I think you'd have to keep it up high away from little hands that would then keep scanning the cookies.
Right.
Or even from my husband. That's why I never take him grocery shopping, because I always have $40 more on my bill of just cheese. But I don't know why they would limit it to just their grocery service, though, because we already know that Amazon can scan barcodes and order you anything else besides that. Like, you can use the app when you're out in a store, scan a barcode and add it to your list. What's it called? Amazon Remembers, I think. Mm-hmm. Do they still call it that? So, yeah, I guess. But I guess they just don't want you to lose this, or there's like a little hole on the end so you can hang it from a counter. It's a fun sort of why not kind of thing. I can see this being used all over the house. Sure.
Yeah, it's a very nice looking consumer electronics-y kind of a thing, and it looks very appealing. I have been predicting for some time, and I still believe it, that it's likely that Amazon might someday come out with a smartphone. And when that happens, you can see these features being integrated into that device. In the meantime, they probably don't want people using other people's smartphones for using Amazon too much, although their current app is pretty great. And I don't think their current app for scanning barcodes is getting a whole lot of use, not as much as you might expect. So I think that Amazon is just trying lots and lots of different things. It still remains to be seen whether even Amazon Fresh, the whole concept of delivering groceries is even a good idea. I mean, Webvan, I don't know if you remember Webvan from, when was it, the 2000 or so, late 90s, 2000?
Yeah.
And that everybody thought that was the future of grocery shopping, and that fizzled and died. And so nobody's really ever succeeded with this. And, of course, Google has its own grocery delivery service. But, you know, I don't know. I don't think this device is going to help grocery delivery or hurt it. I just think it's more spaghetti they're throwing up against the wall to see if it sticks.
Right. And speaking of spaghetti, that is a processed food. So this is going to be great for things that are not fresh. So when you think of the idea of Amazon Fresh, and when you look at the website here, which I'm going to put in the chat right now, it shows someone ordering a bunch of pears. You cannot scan a pear. There's no barcode on a pear. And it doesn't just take a picture of it. You can say pear, and then you're going to have to choose what kind of pear.
Yeah.
But in my continued crusade against processed food, I think this is probably not a tool I need. I just need to order some pears, things that are not processed in a factory.
And even if you can order, even if you're willing to go through whatever process is required to order pears, you don't want somebody else picking your pears. I mean, they're just,
No.
you want to go to the store and see what it is and pick and choose and all that kind of stuff. So it's a problematic on a number of fronts, and but we wish them luck with it because it's an innovation and it could be nice. It's nice to see voice recognition being integrated into little gadgets like this. So I don't know. It's kind of an interesting product. We'll keep an eye on it.
And if it could put it on some other kind of list as well in conjunction, I'd be okay with that because you're right. I want to pick stuff out myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everybody wants to get into the TV show creation business, apparently. We've told you about recent announcements, plans for original programming from Amazon and AOL. Over the weekend, we learned that both Yahoo and Microsoft are radically expanding their plans as well. Yahoo is close to ordering 4 web-based TV series, according to a report in the Wall Street Journal. And Microsoft's Xbox Entertainment Studios has already committed to 6 TV shows with more than a dozen in development, according to Bloomberg. Natalie, this is just getting crazy. Everybody is a Hollywood studio, and I think that Netflix has demonstrated to everyone that a content creation in the TV space is nothing more than investment. You find the creative people out there, you fund it, and that's really what Hollywood studios have been doing all along for the most part. Do you think this is going to create a nightmare scenario where you just have to have every box there is in order to watch each of the shows you want?
Oh, God. Yeah, I hadn't really thought of it that way, but that sounds horrible. But really, it's only as good as the creators that you hire behind it. And that's what Netflix has done really well, is hire talented people to create good programming. So we as the viewer, we don't necessarily care where it comes from. But I do wonder if the type of programming is going to be very different based on these different portals, because Yahoo tends to be a little bit more... I don't know. What's the word I'm looking for? What was that Reese Witherspoon movie where she was like this nice little 50s? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
like
I do.
Yahoo is the lowest common denominator of the web. Microsoft is used by a lot of young people, whereas Netflix can just get down and dirty and do these kind of things like Orange is the New Black and the Kevin Spacey one, the Salacious Washington one. I don't know why titles are not my thing today. I'll just stop.
Well, and I know what you're saying. Yahoo, though, is willing to spend up to $2 million an episode, according to the Wall Street Journal report. And they, of course, this is all based on unnamed sources. Yahoo itself hasn't announced anything, but they probably could announce it. April 28th, they have an event in New York City where where this all could get into the official realm. Of course,
Pleasantville, thank you.
Yeah.
The chat room got it.
Yeah, chat room always gets it.
You see something on Yahoo TV like, oh, it's Pleasantville. Things are so, it's a Leave It to Beaver kind of do-do.
Exactly.
That's what you're going to Yahoo TV for.
Hey, well, a lot of people like that stuff. So if Yahoo, somebody's got to do that. We can't, everybody can't do like, the super
Hardcore
adult stuff.
Right.
Well,
and I'm not making fun if that is, maybe they just don't have the reputation for being cool enough for that kind of thing.
Well, and they shouldn't, because, they have a kind of a similar reputation to what Disney used to have, which is, like, as you said, a family-friendly kind of a content creation place, and so they should hang on to that, because that's, you should specialize in one thing or another. HBO, on the other hand, is at the other end of the spectrum. So you want a place where you can go for family-friendly entertainment, and you want some other place where you can go and see naked people and drug use. At least I do.
At the same time.
Yeah, that's exactly, preferably. Well, a startup that makes an Android lock screen app called Cover announced a few minutes ago that it has been acquired by Twitter, and Twitter has confirmed that announcement. The announcement was vague on future plans, but it did say that smartphones can be a lot smarter, more useful, and contextual. And of course, this is what it looks like. Jason, if you can put this camera on me, this is the app right here. Running on a Moto X. So if I swipe here, I am all of a sudden in Twitter. That's what it's all about. And I hope that Twitter doesn't do with this what they have done with other things like Posterous, which is just buy it and kill it. I hope they keep it around, and integrate it, do something with it, but just don't kill it, because that's annoying. Some people like this app and want to keep using it.
So is this, exactly. Is this we want a cover, a lock screen or home screen replacement And so we got a design team that does that really well, or is this we want really talented Android engineers, and so we acquired Cover to redesign our app, which for a long time has been considered in the world of Android apps not the best Twitter app out there. Right. It'll be interesting to see how this goes. But Cover is a very unique and interesting home screen replacement, so I certainly hope it sticks around in some way.
Or is this Twitter ensuring their position on the cover 24/7?
Yeah.
Like you may still use this, but by the way, we have to be here. It's now a native app.
Right.
In your cover.
That was my that was my thought as well. This is Facebook Home for Twitter.
That's exactly home screen replacement centered around Twitter. I could see that,
and that's fine. Some people are really into Twitter, and that would be a great feature. They'd have to get rid of all the other apps that it supports, but that's fine. And Twitter owns it; they can do with it what they want. Well, we have some more Xbox news coming in just a sec, but first I want to tell you about Ring Central. When Leo built the studio here, they wanted to build everything in the cloud and not repeat the mistakes of the past before the cloud existed, and invest enormous amounts of money in infrastructure that's difficult to maintain. And so, of course, the phone system was a perfect example of where you could build this in the cloud in a very elegant way. And so Twit went with Ring Central. It's a no-brainer, zero startup costs, no PBX hardware to install and maintain. And now Ring Central has a product called Meetings, a feature called Meetings. So in addition to all that we love about Ring Central, and the list is very long. One, receiving voicemails through email, sending and receiving fax messages from our smartphones, the auto receptionist who greets our callers, and so on. Meetings enables you to host face-to-face meetings in high def and even share desktop documents with anyone, anywhere, anytime, on any device. That's one of the great things. People can all be on different devices and have a very elegant, high-definition meeting. Meetings makes Ring Central the single best solution on the market today. So remember that Ring Central offers all-inclusive pricing under $25 a month per user. Of course, you can start right now with a 30-day risk-free trial, and they have a special offer for TNT listeners. When you buy one desk phone, you get a second phone free, up to 20 phones. So call this number designated for TNT listeners, 800-543-9980. That's 800-543-9980. You can also go to ringcentral.com and use a promo code TWIT. Well, we told you back in January that action camera maker GoPro planned to offer extreme sports videos on Microsoft's Xbox Live. Well, the GoPro channel app launches tomorrow for Xbox Live Gold subscribers worldwide. In other Xbox news, Google announced this morning that their newly updated YouTube app for Xbox One lets you upload gameplay to YouTube in just 2 clicks. This will be great for all those legions of gamers who like to put their videos on YouTube. And what do you think, Natalie? There's been a lot of articles. I think I wrote one of them that falls into this category that says Microsoft is a new company now. They've got their mojo back, etc. What do you think? Is Satya Nadella re-energizing the company? Is this a new Microsoft? I mean, you look at all these Xbox announcements. These are pretty cool things. They're probably in the works before Satya Nadella was even considered as the CEO. But still, regardless of whether he gets credit or not, it does seem like a fresh new Microsoft, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It still seems like different divisions, though, within Microsoft. Like the GoPro thing doesn't really feel at all like anything to do with Windows, which doesn't feel like anything to do with Xbox. And I think once those things feel like you're in the same experience, then it will be that Microsoft is the new company. But I think Microsoft is making an impressive run at trying to feel that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've always felt that Microsoft had far more potential than they ever realized, and always held themselves back because of internal politics, or because they didn't want to support another platform, or because they didn't want to lose money on sales, or because of some reason or another. And now they're making decisions or announcing decisions where it's like, okay, well, we'll give away Windows Phone for free on devices under 9 inches. We'll support open stuff. We'll support makers with our Internet of Things offering. It seems like they're just making decisions that are not new technologies or new directions, but they're simply just letting things happen that should happen, that are more in line with the way things do happen these days. And Microsoft's been out of step for like a decade with where things are going. So now,
the saying, what you resist persists.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like that was Microsoft's entire story of the early 2000s. And I don't know, did you read that great book, What the Dormouse Said?
I did not.
Okay. It's a lot about the history of the Silicon Valley and the history of the big companies that are there now, but going way back to the 60s, not just the early 2000s and the dot-com boom. But, Bill Gates very much believed that software should be, he's the one who decided software should be sold and made a lot of money on. It was all he invented sort of the shrink wrap economy back then. And it's just taken so long for them to change that belief.
Yeah, that's always been Bill Gates's core sort of contribution to the world of technology.
Because where he learned the things for Windows was mostly an open source community within the programmers in and around Stanford on the West Coast.
Of course, and then he, he famously wrote strongly worded letters to various groups saying, you're not. You're stealing my software. We charge for this. And Microsoft has always charged top dollar for everything. It's pretty much as much as you could possibly get for almost everything that could be sold. So this is a huge change for Microsoft. It's a big deal. I wonder what Bill Gates is thinking about all this because, giving away software is a very un-Microsoftian thing to do. And speaking of technology...
Well, he wants to give away condoms and things like that. It seems like in his old age, he's lightened up, but he was not this person back in the, in his 20s. And that's what led us down this path that now is completely being backed up. So it's refreshing to see a company that's willing to do this now when they were based on a philosophy that's so antithetical.
Yeah, I think every Windows phone device should come with free condoms, personally, but that's just me. Now, speaking of Silicon Valley culture, I just want to throw in one last little nugget of information. The HBO series Silicon Valley, which is supposed to be hilarious, I haven't seen the first episode, which aired yesterday on Sunday, is now posted for free on YouTube, so you can watch the entire first episode free of charge. Just go to YouTube and search for Silicon Valley and you'll find it there for sure. So that should be an interesting thing. Natalie, I want to thank you for coming on Tech News Today.
You're welcome.
And also all week. We're looking forward to the whole week with you as our guest co-anchor.
I shall see you tomorrow.
Wonderful. Well, I'd like you to subscribe to Tech News Today if you haven't already. There are many ways to do that. First is to go to twit.tv/TNT and just click the subscribe button, one of them. You can also subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/TechNewsToday. And follow us on Twitter at TechNewsTodayTV. And we want to hear from you as well. So please send us an email at tnt@twit.tv and tell us what's on your mind. Or you can leave us voicemail by calling 260-TNT-SHOW. Also, don't miss our evening newscast, Tech News Tonight, at 4 p.m. Pacific. My name is Mike Elgin. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.